સંધાન ઓલ ગુજરાત ઇન્ટિગ્રેટેડ ક્લાસરૂમ
સેટેલાઇટના માધ્યમથી જોડતી કડી એટલે સંધાન.
Good afternoon. Today's topic is Fourier series introduction. Let us first begin with certain terms that we need to develop to the Fourier series. Okay. Let us start with what is meant by a sequence. As you know, a sequence is a function f from n to r. Sequence represented by the function is called the sequence of real numbers. You also know that you can take any set instead of n, that is any set that is in one-to-one correspondence with n, and that is countable. That means it's countable. The numbers, that is the image of the function, they are we call f1, f2, f3 and so on. They are called the terms of the sequence, where f1 is called the first term, f2 is called the second term and so on. Fn is the nth term, also called the general term of the sequence. As you know that sometime we may represent Fn as a formula, but it may not always possible to represent Fn using a formula. The term of a sequence may be denoted by a1, a2, an and so on, and a sequence may be represented by using curly braces an. The next comes, which is very closely related to sequence, is the concept of series. Suppose you are given a sequence an, and let us define another sequence denoted by Sn, where we take the first term of the sequence Sn S1 as A1, the second term we take is as A1 plus A2, and we will go on doing this way by taking Sn is equal to the sum of first n terms of the sequence An. Such a sequence is called the sequence of the partial sums of the terms of the sequence An. If we take limit Sn as n tends to infinity, then what we get, the right hand side we may write it as sigma an n from 1 to infinity, and it is called the series of the terms of the sequence an. So a series is nothing but the sum of the terms of a sequence an. Clearly, the concept of series addresses one of the most difficult question of mathematics, and it is addition of numbers. Here it is countable addition. As we know, the addition of the numbers is a very difficult problem, because you take, say for example, 10 different numbers and you need to add them 9 times. So there is no shortcut to that as far as distinct numbers are concerned. And similar fashion, suppose we want to add infinitely many, countably many terms, what we will do, that concept we represent using the concept of series. Also by integration we address the problem of adding the value of the function over an uncountably infinite set. Next, let us take the concept of series of functions. Suppose you are given functions denoted by say g1x, g2x, gnx, right? And suppose these are all the functions, real valued functions of real variables. Then summation gnx from 1 to infinity, that is g1x plus g2x plus g3x so on, is called a series of functions. For example, a power series. When we take a power series, it is, here we have taken a power series that is of the form a0 plus a1x plus a2x square and so on. It is summation an x raised to n, and this is a power series in powers of x or about x is equal to 0. So the function used here in this power series are 1x x square, or we may call they are monomials. By power series, one tries to find the answer to that addition problem for several values of real number x simultaneously. For example, take the series 1 plus x square plus x cube and so on. If you take Sn or Gnx for finite, if you take the partial sum of the series, that will be 1 plus x square plus x raised to x cube up to x raised to n minus 1. This is clearly a geometric series, and we know that it converges to function 1 upon 1 minus x for all x where mod x less than 1. Here what we are trying to do, or what we are addressing to the problem, is that you can answer the question of adding the numbers which lies between minus 1 and 1 simultaneously, and the answer you will get as 1 upon 1 minus x. You replace x by some number between minus 1 and 1 and you will directly get the answer that what the summation is using the formula 1 upon 1 minus x. So our power series representation is supposed to be a simple representation in a sense that it involves only basic operations of addition, subtraction, multiplication and division of numbers. So again, let us take this one. Right here what we see is that it is 1 plus x square plus x cube. So basically the calculation involve only the addition and multiplication of numbers. Such representation can be obtained for certain category of functions using the techniques of Taylor series, right? So for example, if you are given a function fx, then we know what is what is the Taylor series expression for fx in terms of in powers of x minus a. We may write this as fx is equal to fa plus it is x minus a divided by factorial 1 into f dash a into x minus a square divided by factorial 2 into f double dash a and so on. So again what we see is that on the right hand side we have basic operations of mathematics, and that is addition, multiplication and division. But when we try to find the Taylor series expansion for the function, what we need is the function must have the nth order derivative for any n exists. As we know that for the function fx is equal to e raised to x, its nth order derivative exists for any time and it is continuously differentiable. And if we apply the Taylor series about x is equal to 0, we can end up with the expansion that e raised to x is 1 plus x divided by factorial 1 plus x square divided by factorial 2 plus x cube divided by factorial 3 and so on. And this expansion is valid for all real x. This kind of expansion helps finding approximate value of e raised to x for any x. As we know that e raised to x, to find value of e raised to x for any x, as e is an irrational number, it is very difficult to find the value of e raised to x for any x, and to find that we sometime this kind of expansion are useful. Let us take the case when x is equal to 1, that is try to find e raised to 1. As e is an irrational number and it is defined as e as the limit 1 plus 1 upon n whole raised to n as n goes to infinity, right? This is the definition of e. If we try to find the value of e approximately using this definition, and if we take n is equal to say 100, then the approximate value for e we are getting using this definition is 2.7048. While if we use the Taylor series up to 11 terms only, one can find the value of e as 2.718281828, which is a 10-digit accurate answer. So far it has been attempted to explain the importance of series representation. So we can sum up the series representation in two ways, that it is helping us in adding the infinite summation of numbers, and when we go to the power series or series expansion of the function, then that help us in answering such a question simultaneously for many values of x. Now let us ask a question: is it possible to express a given function in terms of series of some functions other than polynomials? To answer the question, let us explore a bit of linear algebra. Let us take a collection of functions defined over closed interval ab and assume that it is forming a real inner product space under the operation of addition, multiplication by scalars, and inner product given by addition is given by, say, f plus g of x is equal to fx plus gx. Multiplication by scalars, suppose taken as k times f of x is equal to k times fx, where k is a scalar, and inner product given by inner product fg is equal to integration over the interval a to b of the product of the function fx and gx. Then in this inner product space, what we can do is that we can define norm of a function denoted by double bar f, which is a non-negative number, and it is given by it is taken as norm f is equal to positive or non-negative under root of inner product f of f with itself. We also know that when we are in an inner product space, then in an inner product space, inner product defines what is called Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. That is, mode of inner product fg is less than or equal to norm f into norm g. Therefore, what we get is that -1 is less than or equal to inner product fg divided by norm f norm g less than or equal to 1. And because of the property, inner product help us in defining the concept of angle in an inner product space. Okay, and we define the angle in an inner product space as, if theta is the angle, if theta is the angle defined between f and g, then we have cos theta is equal to inner product fg divided by norm f norm g, right? So this is how this concept of angle get introduced in an inner product space. It is because of the Cauchy-Schwarz inequality. As the concept of angle get introduced, we can define the concept of called orthogonality of the functions, right? So what is meant by orthogonality? Let Gn be a sequence of functions defined in an inner product space over closed interval ab, where when n not equal to m, Gn is not equal to Gm. The sequence is called orthogonal if the inner product Gn Gm is 0 whenever n not equal to m. So this is how we define the concept of orthogonal sequence. Now we ask a question that let f and Gn be real valued functions defined over closed interval ab. Is it possible to express f in terms of Gnx over closed interval ab? That is it possible that fx can be written as c1 times g1x plus c2 times g2x and so on plus cn times gnx for some constants c1, c2, Cn? The answer is affirmative for some class of functions f. Let us see how. So as we want fx is equal to c1 g1x plus c2 g2x plus cn gnx for some constants c1 c2 cn. Let us multiply both the sides by gnx. Therefore we get fx gnx is equal to c1 g1x into gnx plus c2 g2x into gnx plus cn gnx into gnx and so on. Now integrate both sides. Integrate both the sides over closed interval ab. Therefore we have integration a to b fx gnx dx is equal to integration a to b c1 g1x gnx dx plus